Podcast Network Asia.
Codependency. Yan ang naging problema ng ating letter sender na si Kai Kai. And she gave up the friendship. Did she do the right thing? This is the 18th episode of the Major Podcast with Venus Ra. And this podcast is brought to you by MX3. Thank you so much, MX3. So let's read the letter of our letter sender. Hey, Ate V. Itago mo na lang ako sa pangalang Kai Kai. I'm 17 years old and I'm grateful that at such a young age, I've already learned so much from life. I enjoyed listening to your podcast, Ate V, and I want to share my own story and hear your thoughts. I have a best friend na nakilala ko sa Facebook. Mahilig kasi akong sumali noon sa mga Christian group chat. Naging sobrang close kami. Halos araw-araw kami magka-chat. Nagkakasundo kami lalo na sa mga spiritual na usapan. Pero as time went by, I found myself obsessed with her. Ate V, hindi ko na ma-imagine ang buhay ko na wala siya. And because of this, nagiging toxic na ako. It also affected my relationship with the Lord. So I knew that it was time to let go. It's been 8 months since we cut our connection. Minsan naiisip ko pa rin, what if we rekindle our friendship? Pero natatakot ako, Ate V, na maging too dependent ulit sa kanya. Now, we're close to being strangers. Should I just leave it at that? Thank you, Ate V. Yours truly, Kai Kai. Kai, thank you so much for sharing your story. Alam mo, probably many of our listeners can relate to your story as well. Kasi alam naman natin na lahat tayo may kaibigan. And having a friend is really a blessing. And even in the Bible, we can read stories of great friendships, from the story of David and Jonathan to the story of Paul and Timothy, or Paul or Barnabas, and even the story of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Alam natin na yung story nila ay really a story of good relationships. And we can really say that friendships, or even our friends, are a gift from God. Pero hindi rin natin madi-deny, Kai, na our relationships with people, be it a friendship relationship or family relationship, is really imperfect. Kasi we are imperfect human beings. Yun naman talaga yung katotohanan. And because we have flaws in character, or our relationship can become unhealthy, or it can become toxic. Nakwento mo, Kai, sa story mo na nagiging toxic na yung relationship mo sa kanya kasi naging dependent ka na sa kaibigan mo. That can lead to, you being so dependent to her to the point na hindi mo na ma-imagine yung buhay mo na wala siya. And you even mentioned na na-obsess ka na sa kanya. That can be codependency. Alam mo, Kai, yung codependency can lead to unhealthy relationship dynamics. At yun ang iniiwasan natin, yung umabot tayo sa ganong klaseng relationship. When you become excessively dependent to your friend when it comes to emotional support, decision-making, validation, talagang magiging toxic yung relationship. Kasi yung mas nagiging dependent tayo sa tao kesa sa relationship natin to the Lord. And yun nga unhealthy yun kasi minsan mas inuuna nating takbuhan ng tao kesa sa takbuhan natin ng Panginoon. And you also mentioned na yun, parang nag-lead yung relationship ninyo to the point na you ended the relationship. And it can also lead to emotional exhaustion, lalo na dun sa giver of attention or whatever emotional needs that we have. Also, codependency can lead to identity loss or the loss of our individual identity. Kasi minsan nawawala na yung sarili mong persona or your own personality or even your personal values and goals. Kasi umaabot na tayo sa punto na hindi na natin kilala yung sarili natin. Dahil kung sino yung kaibigan natin, dun na natin napapattern yung sarili natin. Dun na natin, even nga yung laugh, even yung expression, kung mapapansin mo, kung sino yung best friend mo, sino yung kaibigan mo, yung tawa mo, kasing tunog na rin ang tawa niya. Yung expression mo, parehas na rin ang expression niya. So, yun ang ayaw nating mangyari, yung mawalan tayo ng identity because of our dependency to a specific person. And I don't know if you have experienced this, Kai, but because of codependency, nawawalan na ng boundaries yung friendships to the point na wala nang respect, wala nang honoring, yung we feel entitled of the person's time and effort and attention. At pag hindi nabigay nung tao na yon yung expectation natin when it comes to attention or effort, we feel bad. So, it can lead to a cycle of unhealthy behaviors. But what also makes me sad, Kai, in the story is that you said that, you have ended your relationship. Hindi mo man siya nagdetalye, pero siguro gusto kong itanong kung nakapag-usap ba kayo bago nyo in-end yung relationship? Or was it a mutual decision between the two of you? Kasi kung hindi kayo nakapag-usap, I would suggest that you have a conversation with this person. Kasi mahirap yung meron kang unclosed chapter na libro sa buhay mo. So kung hindi kayo nakapag-usap ng maayos, I hope that you would be able to talk about it. Pero kung nakapag-usap naman kayo at mutual yung decision na yon, I don't think you have to feel bad about it. And you mentioned that you want to rekindle, you're thinking of rekindling the relationship. That's not a bad idea as well. Pero sabi mo natatakot ka or napapangunahan ka ng takot. I was thinking, ano yung nagiging source ng takot na yon? And you also mentioned na probably it's the fear of going back to how you used to be. And it's good na ayaw mo nang bumalik dun sa kung paano ka noon. Tama yon, Kai. But maybe you also want to explore the idea na this could be a lesson that God wants you to learn. It could be that in this relationship, God is showing you your tendencies. And buti nga friendship pa lang to, Kai. Kasi it would be so difficult if you enter into a relationship, let's say a married relationship or a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, and then dun sa relationship na yun, dun mo makikita na, shucks, ito pala yung tendency ko. So, it's good na nakita mo na tong tendency na to in your relationship, in your friendship relationship, and do something about it. Siguro panghuli na lang, Kai, I hope that you will also not neglect your spiritual relationship with the Lord. Because at the end of the day, a good friendship or a godly friendship should not lead us away from the Lord. In fact, a godly relationship would even bring us closer to the Lord. Keep in mind that Jesus is the best friend that you could ever have. And as you mentioned kanina na kung naapektuhan na yung relationship mo with God, then baka nagiging idol na yung friendship na binigay ni Lord sa'yo. The Lord is the giver of good friends. I hope that we will not forget to put our attention and our dependence on Him rather than on the gift, on the friend that God has given to us. I hope that this friend will not replace God's place in your heart. Whatever friendship that you will have in the future, be it this one or the next relationships, whatever it is, a friend, a boyfriend, a husband, children, whatever it is, I hope that that relationship will not replace God's place in your heart. Yun lamang, Kai. Thank you so much for trusting us. Thank you for sending your letter. And I hope that you have also learned from us today. 3 takeaways from today's episode. How do we avoid codependency in our relationships? Number 1, stick to your identity. Be close to a friend, but don't lose your identity in the process. Have your own hobbies and interests, personal goals, and set of friends. Number 2, establish healthy boundaries. Communicate your needs, expectations, and limitations openly and honestly. Learn to say no sometimes. And number 3, build individual coping strategies. Develop healthy coping mechanism for dealing with stress and emotional challenges. Develop a balanced relationship with God and others. This will foster a more resilient and balanced relationship. And before we say goodbye, I just want to thank again MX3 for being our major sponsor. To our MX3 family, maraming salamat po. I also want to say hi to all the students from different schools in Jensen that attended our Not Alone event there. Nakakita rin ho ako ng maraming isda at maraming tuna. And here's the snippets of that trip. And that's it for today's episode. Follow us on our social media accounts and share this podcast to your friends. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell notification below. Also, follow us on Spotify as well and leave us a rating. Muli, ako po si Ate V, always here to listen and to think things through with you. Till the next episode of the Major Podcast with Venus Farah.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.